Hello and welcome to the second day of the round of 4. This is semi-final B. You're watching the Bacchus off GameNet Star League. This is a Teamliquid.net community forum, forum community tournament. In case you don't already realize, this isn't actually GoRush and Nara playing, but they are your players today, and they're the players playing under the aliases for the purpose of this and the Shinhan Tank Pro League. So I understand most of the people watching will probably already understand that, but I thought I'd better explain it just in case anyone feels somewhat disappointed, and if you do, I do apologise. But that's how the tournament works. So of course, as this is the second best of 5, you'll see the last semi-final. This will be between GoRush and Alra, and they'll be fighting on the same maps as what Boxer and Haya fought on yesterday, which is Aztec, Icarus, Gladiator and Pathfinder, which are of course the full map pool for this tournament, and the maps will be ever so slightly different for the final, but this is going to decide who's going to go up against Boxer in the final in a couple of weeks' time. So this is going to be an exciting set of games, I do believe. GoRush, well, I'll go into that now. As you can see here, your first player here is SK Telecom T1's GoRush, and so far throughout this entire tournament and the Shinhan Tank Pro League, he's proven to be very strong, and also he's proven that he's not adverse to play very aggressive styles. So of course Nara will have to prepare for those, and also GoRush could mix it up and play a little bit more macro orientated style as well to make it a little bit harder for him or for Nara to judge what he's going to do. So he has 5 games to prove himself here, and of course if he does get through these games, he will be going up against his teammate SK Telecom T1's Boxer in the finals, so that should be interesting. But then the man trying to stop a team kill final is of course KT Rolster's Nalra, very famous player. The guy playing under the alias of Nara is also doing very well, proving he's very strong too. He's no force to be reckoned with. He hasn't actually played any PvZs yet. He's played a few PvPs and I believe a PvT as well, so we've not actually seen Nara's strength in PvZ yet. But if it's as good as his other matchups, he should do fine today here against GoRush. He just has to be prepared to deal with any form of like aggressive play, because as explained previously, GoRush is adverse to that. So as I don't have the most time in the world, I'm gonna move straight into the game as quick as I can. So I'll just throw up the intro quickly and we'll get going. So yep, once again we have both our players ready. This is going to be the first game of the best of 5. So let's get started as quick as we can. Okay, so as you can see, we do have our 2 players here. In the 12 o'clock position on Neo Aztec, we do have SK Telecom T1's GoRush. And of course his opponent for this best of 5, and his rival wanting to make his way into the final just as much as GoRush does, is of course KT Rolster's Nalra, the Protoss off in the 9 o'clock position. If you haven't seen this map before, this is of course a 3-player map, so we might see some interesting cheeses on here. That there is another very interesting map feature here, which it does feature a low ground main I know there probably isn't too many people playing or watching the stream right now, or watching the VODs, who don't really know much about Brood War, but it's always worth checking it out, obviously, and explaining what's going on, because I know there are still a lot of people who play StarCraft 2 and may look at the thread in Teamliquid, for example, check out the VODs and have no idea what's going on. So if you are watching and you are somebody who primarily plays StarCraft 2 and has no idea about Brood War, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the games. But we can see that GoRush is here going for, it looks like an overpull, so he'll have his pull up pretty early, and this could lead to some early link pressure, not opting to go for a more risky but somewhat standard hatch first, knowing that Nalra himself has actually done some aggressive plays previously. Of course, we haven't seen his PvZ before, and it looks like he's going to be going for a relatively normal Forge Fast Expand. This is quite it's a relatively hard map to wall off as Protoss, so he's going to opt to build this cannon first, just to be safe. He hasn't actually managed to scout the base of GoRush yet, as this probe, as you can see here, is now moving up just in time to see GoRush put down his hatchery. So unless GoRush decides to go for some form of all-in off of two bases, currently Nalra should understand that he should be safe, and probably won't need the extra cannon. He's just going to be scouting around for a bit, see what exactly is coming out those eggs. It looks like GoRush not going to commit to any really early link pressure. He did actually get a good scout with his Overlord to start with, does see the wall and the cannon. He won't quite see this Nexus, but he may decide to try and sneak that Overlord in to have a closer look, but he's going to move it back to make sure it doesn't lose it, because losing your first Overlord is an incredibly big problem. But Zerglings will just keep chasing this probe around. Probes, I think, actually outspeed Zerglings ever so slightly, or either that or they're the same speed. So until Zergling speed is finished, which looks like it's being, of course it's not being researched, the extractor's not done yet. I was fooled by the cool animation there, showing my lack of experience with Zergle Protoss, but yeah, with good micro, this probe should stay alive for a very long time, unless GoRush decides to try and build a lot of lings and then trap it, but it's not really worth it at this point in the game. Nalra back at his base is going to add on a second cannon just to be safe, as well as a gateway. As I did mention, this is quite a hard map to make a really good link type wall, so I don't think it's actually possible in the natural, even for Protoss. So he's just going to try and wall in as best he can. GoRush doing something relatively standard for him, almost. He's going for 2 hatch layer quite early on. Not the most optimal playstyle against what Nalra is doing. Nalra taking a quick expansion himself, as you can see here. Zerg usually want to be adding on that third base, and as I say that, I'm completely blind, as it looks like GoRush's third hatchery is nearly also complete, and that is now going to be down in the bottom natural position, so that's going to be a very annoying place for Nalra to have to go and attack, because of course if GoRush sends his units down here to this base, he won't be able to attack the main and vice versa, so it's a very strong choice for Zerg, especially in 3 and 4 player maps, as they are the only ones where they have this option, to take that extra natural, because by securing that natural with Sunkens and Spores and units, of course, you do get that main relatively free as Zerg, which is of course very nice, and a very cool choice. It's a little bit harder to do against Zerg for Protoss, for example, due to the potency of Zerg, like Mutalisks and Scourge, to make it a little bit harder to really counter any form of airplay into the bases. But of course Reaver Harass is going to be very powerful on any map, and of course Storm Drops too. Storm Drops are going to be especially good on this map due to the ridge here. They can actually hit the minerals with storms. Reavers aren't, it's probably better to tank drop there, but of course Reaver Scarabs wouldn't be able to get off the cliff, which is a bit of a pain for Protoss players, but they don't really need cliffs. Reavers are cool enough already. So yeah, there's just a little bit of juking and driving going on by GoRush's lings at the front. It looks like Nalra tried to move out with his zealots there to try and get a little bit of scouting done and a little bit of damage, but due to the positioning and the small number of Lings and Zealots, he decides not to actually try and push across. He's just going to start adding his Corsairs now, and a Ling will scout this going towards his base, so that was a very, very good scout by GoRush. He now knows to get some Scourge. He does have his spy now complete, and he'll be using his Scourge now to protect his overlords, which he has moved all over the map. There's an overlord here, there's a couple of overlords down here, so with active Corsair hunting he can actually kill a lot of overlords, but it looks like with Scourge coming out now, it's going to be a little bit harder for the Corsairs, especially in low numbers. Of course, you do have the second Corsair finishing now. GoRush is going to have... oh, there we go, he's adding this fourth base as I thought he would in that main. And it's going to be very, very difficult for Mira to actually punish this. And due to the... although there's only a small number of Lings outside his base, due to the potency of Ling run-bys and the way this build works for Protoss, Naura doesn't actually have too many units to defend against that sort of thing. Of course, the Zealots are now going to move across the map, and there's not enough Lings to really engage, as Zealots do trade really well with Lings, in case you didn't already know that. He's going to move his Lings back to his base. He'll probably add on an extra Sunken. He is adding creep colonies, but that could also be for spore colonies, which do help against the inevitable Corsair aggression over the bases of the Zerg. It's actually going to be a very decent hold. It looks like there's a nice wall defending the Sunken, and the Lings are trying to get in the way of the Zealots to try and block that off. The Zealots don't actually do any damage. Most of them do go down, and the Lings are going to move out and chase. There aren't enough Lings to kill the Zealots, but it looks like the Corsairs have tried to move in. One of them does go down to Scourge, and the two Corsairs now float away without their ally, and the Zealots are forced away due to the good SimCity here by GoRush. It looks like Naura is going to do the sensible thing here with the Zealots and actually use them to scout around the map. Probably head down to this bottom natural to see if he can do some damage there. But once again, replicating the SimCity from his main natural, he's going to be adding Sunkens and creep colonies there. So it's actually going to be very difficult for Naura to actually create any damage or any opportunities here for himself. The Overlord spread and the Scourge spread as well by the looks of it now, and a very good Zergling placement for scouting is going to seriously negate the ability for the Corsairs to do very much, and Naura is now forced to turtle back on 2 bases still. It looks like he's going to try and send out a probe and take a 3rd base, but with active scouting, GoRush is going to be able to scout this pretty quickly. It looks like this probe is actually going to run into the Lings. The Lings, with a very lucky pickup there, find the probe, and this will actually tip GoRush off to the fact that Naura does want to expand, and he's probably going to head down south to expand to this base here, which is also being scouted by a Zergling as well. So now with High Templars and most likely Storm finished, Naura is going to move across the map and actually take this 3rd base here. It's not exactly the easiest base to defend against Zerg, but it does have this 3rd gas, whereas this base of course only has minerals. So currently in the game we have Naura still adding on Corsairs. He's now going to add his observatory, which means he will have observers coming out to help scout against the Zerg attack. But the Lings try and move in and try and snipe a Templar, but sadly for him, Naura does a really, really nice job of positioning his Zealots well enough to surround the High Templar, and it looks like GoRush is now going to transition into a more standard PvZ composition of Hydras. Hydras are of course not amazing in Storm, but with good control they are useful against pretty much everything Protoss has, and due to the low cost of them, it makes them a very strong choice for GoRush to go with here. He's not going to try and go for any muteless play. Muteless play is of course also very viable, but with these Corsairs he would need incredibly good Scourge micro to take them all out before his muteless will die. So it's a very risky play, and also with the stackability of the Mutalisk, Storm is even more powerful. But there is a huge trade now of Hydralisk moving across the map. There's some moving up from the bottom 2 bases as well, so it looks like he's going to try and bust this base. There is at least 4 Storms now, but with good micro he should be able to negate these. A good Storm does go down on top of a large clump of Hydralisk, but he does pull back quick enough to not lose too many, and he will be reinforcing these from his bases with Lings and Hydralisks. So it looks like he does eventually want to try and break this base. But it looks like Naura now is starting to add on a shuttle, which makes me believe, well, as very standard in PvZ, he will be adding either Reavers to help counteract the Hydralisk forces, or the Zerg forces in general actually, due to the power of Reavers, but also to Storm Drop as well. Of course there is defense out the front of these bases by GoRush, but this isn't exactly well defended against like Storm Drops, for example. Up here there's nothing to actually spot for this other than the scouting Zerglings or whatever around the map, so we're going to be seeing some harassment coming out soon. It looks like GoRush tried to sneak a few lurkers up to there. He does lose 1 lurker, but the 2 other lurkers do actually manage to survive, and they move back and start taking pot shots at those zealots, which is of course very, very strong. And a Storm does go down on 1 lurker, and the Dragoons take out the other one, so the lurker count of GoRush has of course been reduced, but back at home he's adding on more. He's just continuing to macro up. It looks like that lost Overlord that he just, well, the Overlord he just lost is actually going to supply block him, and it actually puts him quite far down in supply compared to GoRush, and sorry, in comparison to Naura. And using this, Naura looks like he's going to position a little bit further forward on the map. There is Lings running around, but they're not enough to deal with the amount of Zealots and Storms, as well as Dragoons. So he's going to have to look to try and defend one of his bases when the inevitable push by Naura happens, as it looks like 2-0 has finished, well, either just, or rather recently. If we check his forge, he should be going for... It looks like I think that's the shield upgrade. No, that's probably armor. I need to learn the icons for Protoss, but that's fine. It looks like Naura's going to move in to try and push down into this base now. And with lurkers and Hydralisk spread out, there's a huge number of lurkers morphing in. If Naura can get up here quickly, he'll be able to storm the eggs, which is very strong. The storm goes down all the Hydralisks, and there's a lot of Lings do go down to the Zealot wall. But it looks like these lurkers will morph, but they're going to morph straight into Storm, and that's going to be incredibly bad for him. He does try and he tries to burrow some more lurkers. Another lurker does pop out right in the middle of all the forces of Protoss, so he's losing a lot of units here. But he can't. Oh, Naura still can't actually break this defense. So this will give GoRush time to reinforce his units. As you can see, there's a large number of units reinforcing, but the same goes for Naura. Yeah, so Naura is actually... Yeah, Naura is reinforcing this push. It looks like the push was actually cleaned up, and there is a storm drop with Reavers gone down into this 4th base, which is very difficult for GoRush to actually deal with. He loses the majority of his drones at this base, and everything that's popping out the eggs is slowly dying for the Reaver. The Reaver does get taken out, but the leftover forces now at the top of the ramp are actually going to be able to defend the natural. There are now 2 lurkers there, and Naura moving a lot of units across to try and continue up the pressure. It looks like Corsairs are moving around the map to try and scout a little bit, see if they can get some more Overlord kills. And the main force of Naura is going to move down he's going to move up into up the ramp into the 2 hold position Hydra, or 3 hold position Hydralisks. They all do go down, but the defenses of GoRush are slowly building up. Naura's going to move in now. He's going to try and take an engagement against these lurkers. There's only lurkers and Lings here. The Hydralisks aren't in position to defend, but there's just too many lurkers for him to actually push up with the meager amount of units he has. And with a nice round coming from the other side, a storm goes down on the Hydralist, another storm as well. Most of the Hydralists go down, and GoRush once again finds his army somewhat reset against this slowly building ball of Protoss units here in the middle of the map. Nara has actually set up really good defenses on all of his bases. This base, now going to be his fourth, is going up, and GoRush finds it hard here to secure a fifth gas, which he'll need to do eventually. GoRush actually opting to start adding Nidus canals to try and help switch between defending both these bases. A storm goes down to try and protect the retreating High Templar here, and a lot of links do go down to that. And it looks like Nara's going to try and hook around the bottom half of the map and then move in for a hopeful kill on the base. Hold on. And we do have Nara moving in now against GoRush. GoRush doesn't have too many units here to defend. Some really nice storms go off, but a lot of the Zealot force has been killed. And well, seeing that more Zealots are streaming in, there are a lot of Protoss here. There's a lot of storms here as well. So many High Templars, not with much energy though. So he's either going to have to wait for more energy or morph them into Archons. Then it looks like he's going to put some serious pressure here on the base. A large amount of Lurkerling is going to move in from the north side of the map. The Corsairs are going to spot this, but it's going to be very difficult for Nara's forces here to survive. He's going to try and bring in his own reinforcements, but there's so many Lurkers here and not too many storms anymore. The High Templar have actually been turned into or morphed into Archons, which aren't exactly the best against Lurkers. And with so many Lurkers here, they're slowly whittling down the force of Nara and putting GoRush in a very good position here to try and counterattack the Protoss, because of course two cannons and a Reaver are very good against a small number of forces, but with this many Lurkers, if GoRush was to decide to counterattack, Nara is going to have a very hard time to try and respond to this. It looks like GoRush did in fact manage to take out this base at the top, and he's taking it for himself. A small amount of Zealots, a Dragoon and a Probe and a High Templar are going to try and move out to try and kill the defending Lings. But with a large number of Lurkers moving up, he's going to find it very hard to defend the top of this ramp without some more units. He has a lot of units, including High Templar, at his middle base, thinking that's where the counterattacks are going to go. But GoRush is just moving everywhere on the map right now. He's going to move in. He finds the Reaver, or the two Reavers, and all the High Templars with some Lings, and it does prompt him to move away and try and build up his force a little bit more before he attacks. But now with only 4 bases, Nara is going to move in now with a Reaver drop and try and do some extra damage. GoRush sees this very quickly and moves the majority of his drones away. That Reaver I think only killed 3 drones, and the Reaver's going to try and fly past the Spore Colony, but this amount of Hydralists should be able to pick off this poor shuttle and the Reaver. So that's a very nice pick off for very little gain by Nara. Nara actually moves up here with his forces and takes out this extra base that was building, but there's he now finds those units now stuck up a ramp against 3 Lurkers at the bottom, and there's even more Lurkers here. So with a lot of his army somewhat stranded, he's gonna have a little bit of problem getting down that ramp. Nara does actually have quite a lot of gates here now, which is a very important aspect of PvZ, as the Zerg now does have a lot of production power from all his hatcheries, and he does have a significantly, well, in fact the banks are pretty even. They've been trading really well this entire game. But this number of Lurkers and Lings is going to move up this ramp. There's not too much to defend. There's a lot of Zealots, and the army's going to come in from both angles here, try and get down the ramp. The Lurkers try to burrow, and they do burrow, but the Zealots are already on top of them, and there's a lot of Lings to try and create a wall against all the Lurkers. The Lurkers are going to move up away from the storm, as they were very clumped, but the Dragoons are finding themselves trapped in between so many Lurkers. A swarm goes down even. Not exactly the best against Zealots, but there's only really Dragoons left, and the Lings are going to move up and take a position on the Dragoons. Most of the Dragoons are going down, and this is the majority now of Nara's standing army left. The Reaver is going to take some pot shots at these Lurkers here, which is going to be quite annoying for GoRush to really deal with effectively. But This Corsair has been moving around constantly this entire time, trying to do whatever it can. Nearly goes down some Hydras, but does manage to pull away. It looks like Naura's going to try and break down this ramp again, but there's so many lurkers here that he's finding it very hard to actually do anything. He's killed most of the lurkers in the middle here, which will open him up to take the space. But oh wait, the lurkers have actually just moved to the top of the ramp, and they're going to be incredibly difficult to try and get break through. He's going to use his zealots to try and force his way up the ramp with Storm, Zealots and Dragoons. But the positioning of these lurkers is so strong. The Storm does go down, hitting 2 lurkers, and the other lurker gets stormed as well. So against all odds, Naura does actually break up that ramp, which will allow him to secure that extra base. Of course, this is one of the only bases he can take. This base down here is possible, but it's very difficult for him to defend, and it's a very long way away from his main base, where all his gateway facilities are, or where his gateways are, robotics facilities, I guess. Hive is now finished for GoRush, and it doesn't look like he's opting to go for Great Aspire, which is another strong choice. It's very possible we will see somewhere that he is going into Ultralisks when he has the money. And we do see some extra hatcheries being added down. GoRush isn't messing around. He's going to use this bank well, or so I imagine he's going to plan to use this bank really well. He's going to use Zerglings to try and keep harassing the bases. This poor Defiler didn't get there in time, and the Reaver does actually kill all the Lings. And an Observer will spot this. I do believe that's 7th base for GoRush. He's going to add on this extra gas base now. Oh, but a huge drop goes down in the main, which I completely missed, so I do apologise. There's Lings, Defilers and Hydralisks, and of course Defilers for that swarm, and there's not really much in Naura's base to defend this. He's going to try and move back all of his zealots, but there's just so many Lings. I do believe they have adrenaline due to the speed they're attacking, and he's going to move down to try and defend his gateways, but they're already all unpowered. He's lost all of his production power now. These are the only really bank of gateways he has. He has the 4 gateways up here, but they're not enough. So many gateways are going down. His supply is stuck. A plate goes down on the few units that are here, and it looks like GoRush has just put himself in a very good position to take this game now. Naura is going to try and take this bait at the top. He is long distance mining where the Nexus wasn't finished, and he does actually manage to clear up all these forces, but he's lost so many units and so many buildings. Most of his bases on this mineral only are mined out, and he does now have this base mining at the top. He's going to add some gateways up here, and it would be, if he had the money, he should start adding on some cannons as well. But the lurkers are going to move in and take out this extra gas mining base, so his gas income is being slaughtered once again. A Reaver drop does go down to the bottom base, but there's actually no drones here yet, and Hydralisks are going to move over and push this away. This base is now taken by Zerg as well. GoRush is completely dominating the map right now, and this huge Lurker Ling force is going to move up and do what it can to try and take out this base, which is now going to mine out. It's actually going to move straight in towards the main, try and take out the tech facilities as well as the last remaining gateways. And Naura is going to find it very hard to come back. He's going to move out with his units, but there's just not enough units to deal with this huge swarm. And even with Storm, he's going to find it very difficult to deal with the production capabilities of GoRush at this stage in the game. And he calls G. I don't know if this is GG or if that was a mistake, but there we go. Yeah, that is in fact G. And he does leave the game, which will put GoRush in a 1-0 position in this best of 5.